Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to Football Discussions. And today is a very exciting day because we have mock draft 1.0 of the 2021 NFL draft coming at you. First things first, before we get started, I just want to say this is not my draft order. I make my mock drafts on the Draft Network, which is a fun site. I highly recommend if you guys are into making mocks and doing big boards and stuff, you use their site. But this is their order for, I guess, their projections on how the season is going to go, because this is definitely not the current order. But again, this is not my order. So before you come at me in the comments about the order, it's not mine. Feel free to come at me in the comments about the picks. But again, the order is not mine. But regardless, let's get started with the number one overall pick, which I do believe this is going to be accurate, is going to be held by the New York Football Jets. And they're going to take quarterback Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. It really feels like this is the direction they're going to go in. I feel like Sam Darnold might be traded within the next few weeks before the deadline, or definitely be traded at the end of the season. There's not a doubt in my mind that the Jets won't take Trevor Lawrence. Something has to change. Personally, I think it's Adam Gase, because Adam Gase is a horrible head coach. But regardless, Trevor Lawrence is this highly touted quarterback prospect, probably one of the most hyped NFL prospects we've ever seen. So I don't see the Jets going in a different direction other than Trevor Lawrence here. At number 2, we have the Giants, and Penei Sewell, the beast offensive tackle out of Oregon, is certainly a viable option here. However, I think that the main thing missing from the Giants team right now is a stud edge defender. They could have gotten Chase Young in last year's draft if they lost a few more games. However, they didn't, and they went with getting the offensive tackle this year in Andrew Thomas, who has plenty of room to grow. Don't get me wrong, but I think he is a good building piece along with Will Hernandez on that offensive line. I think they need to address the edge rusher position, finally get some consistent, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett type pressure on the quarterback that we see in those cities and on those teams. And that is Gregory Rousseau. Had 15 and a half sacks in his sophomore season. He opted out this year. He's getting ready for the NFL draft. I think that might hurt his stock a little, so we might not see him go this high. However, I think he's a super talented player. Showed that he could get to the quarterback consistently in that sophomore season. And of course, this is such a weird year due to coronavirus, but I really think that he's a stud at that edge position, and that a team in dire need of an edge rush will go for him. And to me, that's the Giants. At 3, I think this is the offseason that we see the Atlanta Falcons tear their whole team apart. And, I think they're going to trade Matt Ryan or maybe cut him. Yeah, I don't really know the contract situation on that. But to replace him, they're going with quarterback Trey Lance out of North Dakota State University. This kid is a stud. I love to watch him run the football. He's super athletic. Had over 1,000 rushing yards last season. Last season, he also threw 28 picks and 0 interceptions. He did have a showcase this year, basically a one-game season for North Dakota State, and the rest of their games were canceled, just so Trey Lance can get some national exposure. He didn't play great through the air, but again, he showcased that running ability through his first pick in college ever. I think Trey Lance is a super good football player. I don't believe he'll go above Trevor Lawrence. However, I do believe he's a top 5 pick in this draft, and I think that the Falcons will target him if they have a top 3 pick. At 4, back-to-back quarterbacks here, we see 3 quarterbacks going off the board, and Justin Fields is just as good as these other 2, if not possibly better. We'll see how he plays in the Big Ten this year, but Justin Fields out of Ohio State, the quarterback going to the Washington football team. I know that's their old logo. I'm sorry. Fields is a great player, and the football team have made it clear that they're moving on from Dwayne Haskins. So it would really make sense for them to go quarterback here. I don't think that, Kyle Allen or even Alex Smith, but I obviously love that comeback story, is the future in Washington. I think that they're going to go to the draft if they don't get someone in this offseason. Obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks moving around, so that's always an option. But I think Justin Fields is the best player available. I think Ron Rivera really likes an athletic quarterback. We saw that with him and his offense, basically his entire span in Carolina with Cam Newton. So I think Justin Fields fits that build, and I think that he'll fit perfectly in Rivera's offense and really start to get things going finally in Washington offensively. At 5, I'm having the Jaguars get big offensive tackle Penei Sewell out of Oregon. Penei Sewell is a great offensive tackle, really good pass blocker, kind of nasty in the run game too. I think he's going to provide some great protection for whoever's throwing the football in Jacksonville next year. I think they might stick it out with Gardner Minshew one more year, as he doesn't have a lot of help. And if they don't get this number 1 overall pick, or even the top 3 pick, like we saw, or top 4, like we saw all 3 quarterbacks going off the board. I don't think they're going to reach on anyone just quite yet. So they're going to go for Penei Sewell, a guy that can protect their quarterback. And I think they're actually going to move Cam Robinson into guard with this move, have Juwan Taylor and Penei Sewell on the bookends of their offensive line, which would be really solid for their team. At 6, now this might be a reach for Alex Leatherwood. I don't think he's a top 10 overall prospect. However, the Bengals need to focus on protecting Joe Burrow. We just saw Penei Sewell go off the board, which means they're going to have to go offensive tackle. I don't see them going any other direction in this first round than offensive line. They might trade back if this happens, but again, it's way too early to predict trades in my opinion. So I have the Bengals going with Alex Leatherwood, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. He's actually a super good athlete, love what he brings to the table, has a really high ceiling, and actually a decently high floor. He's been a starter at Alabama for 3 years now, super talented player. I think that he can come in and start right away for the Bengals, who need an infusion of talent on that offensive line to protect their franchise guy in Joe Burrow. At number 7, the Broncos, I have them going with Patrick Surtain, quarterback out of Alabama. Now, I could see the Broncos going linebacker Dylan Moses. Linebackers definitely a need. They need a solid player to put alongside Alexander Johnson, who's a building block for their defense. But I see them going corner here. Patrick Surtain Jr. I love the fit in Denver. They still have AJ Bouye or Bryce Callahan, whoever is going to be that starting cornerback there. Patrick Surtain can play the boundary for Denver, go alongside OJ Mudia, who's really developing into a nice player in that Denver defense as well. I think cornerback would be a really good fit for this team, and I'm excited to see if this happens, what he brings to the table in Denver. At number 8, we see the first of a stacked wide receiver class go off the board here, and it's Ja'Marr Chase out of LSU. To me, Chase is a super talented player, but honestly, when it comes to the end of the season, I don't think he'll be the number 1 overall prospect. I think that's either going to belong to a guy in Jalen Waddle or Rondale Moore, 2 names that you're going to see very soon in this mock draft. But as of right now, he is the number 1 overall prospect. It's too early to change anything when it comes to that. He obviously opted out of the season, so we're not going to get to see him play this year. I'm interested to see if there is a combine, how he performs then. Again, that's very far down the road. So we'll see what comes of that. But the Lions, Kenny Galladay's contract situation isn't figured out. Marvin Jones is getting old. Danny and Amendola is getting old. Even if they keep Kenny Galladay, which they should because he's a fantastic wide receiver, they need someone to play alongside him, and Ja'Marr Chase would be perfect in that role. So I think the Lions are going to target an offensive weapon, target a wide receiver in the top 10 for the first time that they've done that since Calvin Johnson, Megatron, not comparing Ja'Marr Chase to Megatron, but, love to throw that stat in there. So I think that this would be a good fit for Detroit's offense. At number 9, this is the Dolphins' first pick. They have 2 in the first round, and actually the Draft Network had them picking back-to-back, so I went with that. This one's via the Texans. I think they're going to get their Raekwon McMillan replacement in Micah Parsons, a really good linebacker. Love what he brings to the table. He's super physical, super athletic. Needs a little help in pass coverage, but in the run game, there's no one better than this kid. Micah Parsons is a beast out of Penn State, and he'll pair really nicely alongside another Big Ten guy, Jerome Baker, who I think is a breakout candidate this year. So I think this will really make this Dolphins linebacking core very good. At number, I believe this is 10. Sorry, that's a typo. I have the Dolphins going Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver out of Alabama. Just mentioned his name previously. This dude is fast, and to me, he might be faster, but he's definitely a better wide receiver than Henry Ruggs. I think he's an even more exciting prospect than Ruggs was. I think Waddle is so explosive. He has the punt return ability. He has the route running. He has the hands. He's just an overall great prospect. And I think in Miami's offense, with Tua Tagovailoa taking over, he can throw to one of his former receivers in Jalen Waddle. They have Preston Williams. They have Devontae Parker. And Mike Gesicki. They're going to form a really good young group of weapons for Tua Tagovailoa. At 11, I have the Chargers getting, an offensive lineman not only to open up holes for their run game, but, play a role in protecting Justin Herbert as well. Their young quarterback, interior offensive line is a position of need for these Chargers. I think by getting Creed Humphrey, who can play center, he can play guard, a versatile guy along the offensive line, that really helps this Chargers offensive line grow and develop as a group and as a unit. And getting a young guy in there, especially if he plays center for the Chargers, to build a rapport early in his career with Justin Herbert would be really great as well for the Chargers. So I'm interested excited to see what they do in this draft. They could go a variety of different ways. Their defense is really good. I expect them to target players on the offense. I could even see the Chargers picking a wide receiver here, but to me, they're going to go offensive line, whether it's tackle to protect Herbert or guard to, do both protect Herbert and open up the run lanes. We'll see. At 12, I have the Vikings going with Marvin Wilson, the interior defensive lineman out of Florida State. The Vikings had a very good pick last year in the draft. Obviously, Justin Jefferson fell right into their hands, and he's performed really well. But to me, the Vikings defensive line is very good, but adding Marvin Wilson to it is going to make it even better. You have Yannick Ngakoue on one side, you have Danielle Hunter on the other, and adding Marvin Wilson to be that big pass rusher in the middle might make this defensive line unstoppable in a few years. I'm really excited to see what the Vikings do in this draft, and if this is how the cookie crumbles, which again, it's very early, so it's probably not, that would be an exciting addition to this Vikings defense. At 13, I have the Eagles going linebacker Dylan Moses. They still need wide receiver help. However, I think they're going to, get some guys in free agency perhaps and target. It's a very deep class. They can target wide receivers in the second round. I think the linebacker is a glaring need on their defense, and Dylan Moses is a really good one out of Alabama. He's probably the best pass coverage linebacker in this class. He's super versatile in that role. Really grew into that in his sophomore year. Tore his ACL his junior season, was eligible last year, probably a first-round pick if he didn't get hurt. Now we see him playing in his senior year with Alabama. He's played well so far, maybe a little minor regression, but obviously COVID circumstances, you can expect that in some players. To me, Dylan Moses is still an insane prospect, and the fit and Philly is something that I really enjoy. At 14, Caleb Fairley out of Virginia Tech, a really solid cornerback prospect. I like what he brings to the table. Virginia Tech runs a lot of zone concepts, so we see him more in that role, but he's also a physical guy in man coverage. Just a superb athlete overall, and Carolina really needs help in that secondary, and Matt Rule is, building this team. That's kind of his role. That's why they brought him in, to be a rebuilder. I think they really like what they have in Teddy Bridgewater. We've seen him win some tough games in Carolina. Maybe they don't go quarterback in the first round, especially with the top 3 prospects off the board. Instead, we see them address their secondary and get Caleb Fairley out of Virginia Tech. At 15, again, I don't think the Raiders will be picking this low, and obviously that's another typo on me. Wyatt Davis is not a wide receiver out of Oklahoma. He's an interior offensive lineman out of Ohio State. I think Wyatt Davis is a really good player for the Las Vegas Raiders. He adds a piece alongside guys like Gabe Jackson on that offensive line. And I think that the Raiders' offensive line will be really complete if they get another interior offensive lineman. So I really like the addition of Wyatt Davis. At 16, I have the Chicago Bears getting Rondale Moore out of Purdue. That's another typo on me. I'm sorry, guys. Wide receiver out of Purdue. This is last year's format, so that's obviously when I mocked Jeremy Chin to the Bears. But Rondale Moore is a beast receiver. I love what he brings to the table. I think he's going to shoot up draft boards. I loved him his freshman year. Obviously got hurt his sophomore year, and now he opted out of the junior season, but then came back in. He's a Heisman candidate to me. He's explosive when he catches the ball in the slot. He's really good in the run game as well. They love to do sweep concepts to him. Kind of a more athletic Laviska Shenault out of Colorado last year that we saw. I really like Rondale Moore. I love what he brings to the table, and adding him to the Bears offense as a weapon, much like Cordero Patterson, who they already have, but you're also getting a sick receiver to pair alongside Allen Robinson, who to me is one of the most criminally underrated players in the league. So I really like the addition. It allows whoever they have at quarterback next year to have another target, and I love Rondale Moore in that role. At 17, I have Shaun Wade, the cornerback out of Ohio State, another guy that opted out and then opted back in and was also eligible for last year's draft and, had some first round buzz around his name. Don't think he's going to fall to the second round this year. Should expect him to play really well. It's going to be interesting to see now that Jeff Okudah is gone, if he can step into that, number 1 boundary cornerback role and play it well. I expect him to. Cardinals, they are a little light on cornerback. I expect Patrick Peterson to not be on the team next year. Byron Murphy is developing. They already have a stud in the secondary and Budda Baker at safety. I think adding Shaun Wade to that equation is going to make for a really good young secondary in Arizona. At 18, I have the San Francisco 49ers getting Paulson Adebo, the cornerback out of Stanford, another guy that was eligible for the draft last year, and to me was a first-round talent. I think he's one of the best zone coverers in this game. And in this class, I think that he's super talented, and I think that he could even, get drafted as a safety. I think that's exactly the versatility that they need. He's more of a younger, same school build as Richard Sherman. I really like that comparison to his game, so I like the fact that the Niners would target Paulson Adebo in this draft. At 19, I have the Dallas Cowboys getting Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. This is probably going to end up being defense because their defense is atrocious this year. But Jerry Jones loves these flashy toys, and to me, Kyle Pitts is a top 10 talent in this class. Just the needs at tight end compared to other needs for other teams didn't quite line up for him to go that high. Again, he's a top 10 talent in my opinion, and he probably will end up going that high. It's too hard to predict right now. To me, he's also probably number 3 or number 2 in Heisman voting, or he should be. This guy's a beast, basically a wide receiver at the tight end position. You're not going to get a lot of blocking production out of him, but that doesn't mean he's not worth it. He's probably, a top 3 pass catcher in this class overall with all the wide receivers and how stacked that room is. I really like Kyle Pitts, and Jerry Jones, like I said, loves his flashy toys. So I expect him, or I wouldn't put it past him to get Kyle Pitts at this position. At 20, I have the Colts getting Kwity Paye out of Michigan, the edge rusher. Paye is a guy that, had production last year, but, not the production that we see out of guys like Gregory Rousseau and Quincy Roche in this class. However, he's a freak athlete, and if he can play really well at Michigan this year, then expect his draft class or stock to rise very quickly. Kwity Paye is a tremendous player. I'm excited to watch him play this year. I can't wait to get my eyes on this guy, and I think that he is a first-round talent. You see it being mocked all over the place, and I wouldn't, be surprised if he does go in the first round. And Colts is a great landing spot. Justin Houston is going to get moved on from. They have DeForest Buckner on the middle. They don't really have an edge rushing presence. If they can get Kwity Paye in that position, then they're really developing a young, good defensive line in Indianapolis. At 21, I think 3 tight ends are going in the first round. This is the second of 3. Pat Freiermuth, however you pronounce it, out of Penn State. Mini Gronk, as they call him, fits that he would go to New England. Fits perfectly in that scheme. Great receiver, great blocker. Could potentially be the number 1 overall tight end in this class. We'll see. To me, right now, it's Kyle Pitts just because of the insane production that he's had at Florida this year. It's going to be interesting to see now that the Big Ten is back what Pat Freiermuth brings to the table for Penn State and what he can bring to the table for an NFL team. At 22, I have the Cleveland Browns getting their edge rusher, pair with Myles Garrett, who to me right now is the best edge rusher in the NFL. No questions about it. Dude is a freak. Quincy Roche is also a freak. Hasn't had a great season at Miami, but we saw him flourish at Temple, and he's really coming into his own at Miami in the past 2 games. I want to say he had a tremendous game versus Jack Carman, who's another first-round talent, versus Clemson, and he played really well versus Pitt this week as well. So Quincy Roche is coming into his own. 2 Miami edge rushers in the first round. They're always good at producing talent for the NFL, regardless of how bad their team plays in college. I think Quincy Roche is a tremendous talent, and like I said, he would be a great tandem to Myles Garrett that they already have. Kind of reminds me of the Broncos drafting Bradley Chubb back in 2017. At 23, I think the Bills, it's time to protect Josh Allen. We've seen it the past 2 weeks. Dude's been scrambling for his life, hasn't had time to throw. They need a good offensive tackle, and to me, that's Samuel Cosmi. I'm sorry that all the positions are messed up. That won't happen next mock draft. But the offensive tackle out of Texas, dude is a really good player. A good pass blocker. I think his run blocking needs to develop, and he's not the greatest athlete, but he's a good player, and he will fit perfectly in Buffalo. They need an offensive tackle, and I think that he falls into that role. At 23, the Titans going Christian Barmore out of Alabama. Really good run stopper. He's kind of developing into a decent pass rusher, but he's more of that, clog the holes in the middle type guy. Perfect Jarrell Casey replacement. They now have Jadeveon Clowney on the edge. They have Harold Landry, who I'm a huge fan of, on the edge. Putting Christian Barmore in the middle would really complete this Titans defensive line. At 24, I have the Buccaneers going Devontae Smith, the wide receiver out of Alabama. Another stud from Bama, and this would make Tampa Bay's offense ridiculous. You have Mike Evans on one side. You have Chris Godwin in the slot, or Devontae Smith in the slot, and then the other guy on the boundary, Gronk in the middle, O.J. Howard in the middle of the field. So it's going to be super fun if they can get their hands on another juicy wide receiver like Devontae Smith. He's a superb athlete, best hands in this class, hands down, and I really like what he brings to the table. At 26, this is via the Rams. I have the Jaguars, going with Brevin Jordan, the tight end out of Miami. The third tight end, another guy, I think he's actually a much better blocker than Kyle Pitts is, but Brevin is inferior receiver to Kyle Pitts' game. That does not mean that Brevin Jordan cannot catch the ball because he's athletic and he's explosive in the middle of the field, has great hands. I think that all three of those tight ends are going to make their impact felt immediately in the NFL. It is the year and the age of athletic tight ends, and you have three of them in this class, and I would not be surprised if all three of them get picked in the first round. At 27, I have the Steelers getting there. Probably Andrew Villanueva, probably botched that name replacement because he is expected to hit free agency this year. Jackson Carman, just mentioned him earlier when talking about Quincy Roche. He did have a bad game in that specific game, but he's a really good prospect at tackle. And, like I said, Villanueva will probably not be in Pittsburgh at the end of the season, so they're going to need someone to protect whoever's throwing the ball there. If Big Ben's still there, then so be it. If he retires and they get, maybe perhaps Sam Darnold, seen some rumors about that, then he's going to need some protection as well because God knows he didn't have it in New York. But that's getting a little ahead of myself. Regardless, tackle is a need for the Steelers, so I expect them to go that direction. At 28, now this is probably going to shock a lot of people. However, we saw Joe Burrow and the stuff that he did at LSU last year and how quickly he rose up draft boards. Now, I'm not saying Mac Jones is having a comparable season to Joe Burrow's. However, he is having a far better season than anyone expected out of this kid. People thought he was going to come in, be a game manager. No, he said, I'm the star of this team. I'm going to lead this team. And boy, has he done that. He's been a terrific passer, has great poise in the pocket, great decision-making, has a fantastic deep ball. Didn't know he had that in him. So Mac Jones is someone excites me, and I would not be surprised if Mac Jones is a first-round pick at the end of the year, and I think that it's not too early to mock that. At 29, I have the Green Bay Packers finally getting a first-round receiver, although it probably won't happen because they don't seem to go in that direction very often. Rashad Bateman, terrific receiver out of Minnesota. Another guy that opted out in the Big Ten, but then opted back in when the Big Ten came back. I expect him to have a big year for Minnesota. Starts off versus Michigan. Should be an interesting matchup. Michigan does not have two shabby defensive backs, so I highly recommend you watch that game if you want to see Rashad Bateman in action. It is the College Game Day game. Bateman is a terrific player and a terrific athlete, great route runner, and I think he'll fit perfectly alongside Davante Adams. At 30, I have another receiver here, someone that's really shocked me this year. We saw Justin Jefferson. We saw Jamar Chase last year, two really good receivers. Terrace Marshall has come into that wide receiver one role with Jamar Chase opting out and has, taken off with it. He's played super well, blown past my expectations, and I think he's really earned himself as a first-round caliber player. I think the Ravens have their speed guy in Marquise Brown. They have their tight end in Mark Andrews. Now they need that jump ball receiver, that bigger build receiver, and to me, that's Terrace Marshall for the Ravens. At 31, this is via the Seahawks Jamal Adams trade. I have the Jets going Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. They get their quarterback of the future in Trevor Lawrence, and then they pair him with his college running back, Travis Etienne, who's far and away the best running back in this class. No disrespect to Chuba Hubbard or Najee Harris, who are my top three running backs, but Travis Etienne is a terrific player, great in the passing game, already comfortable with his quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. This would be a match made in heaven if the Jets could make this happen. Finally, I have the Kansas City Chiefs getting their interior offensive lineman of the future, Trey Smith, out of Tennessee. Smith, I believe, has played a little tackle there, too. I expect him to play mostly inside in the NFL, but a 3-year starter for Tennessee. Tennessee really has great experience and really gets better and better each year. I expect him to be a first-round pick or an early second-round pick when it's all said and done. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's edition 1.0 of the 2021 NFL Mock Draft. Sorry, it was a little sloppy, a lot of typos, but honestly, I'm really too lazy to refilm it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your, comments down below. Tell me how wrong I am because I know you fans love to do that. I hope all of you are staying safe and healthy with Corona. Take it easy, guys. Peace.